Okay. Let's just do that.
This is take number 12 at this point. And for some reason, the patriarchy doesn't want us to talk about our vagina. So we're going to have to start this recording again. It is that juicy, right? That is the power that happens when we can come together and talk about this. So here we go again. Karen had just like given this beautiful, like I got goosebumps introduction about what she does. And then my video was like, no more of this, and crashed my internet. Powerful. So too freaking powerful. Let's start again with introducing yourself, because seriously, I love how you describe the kind of coaching work that you do. Please share it for everyone who doesn't know, since they couldn't hear, they'll never be able to hear the last snippet.
Okay, I hope I don't blow up the internet. But let's try it again. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Karen Caton Brunnings, and I am a life and wellness coach that helps my clients embrace the idea that we're better broken. Life events, challenges, changes, transitions, and even the like really good stuff impact us. Because of those impacts, we break, we fracture, we crack, and occasionally we even like drop to the floor and shatter, every single one of us. And that's the thing that actually brings us together. And we don't have to hide it. And all of us try to hide that happens. And that's, like I said, what makes us really what we have in common. So my gift as a coach is to help people discover how to become strong, resilient, and magnificent because of their cracks and fractures, not in spite of them. So through insight, intentional conversation, empowered action, we transform negative and habitual thoughts, focus on creating and becoming and not breaking, and learning how to fill the inevitable cracks of life with like absolute pure gold. And as Alex and I were talking, one of those impacts that happen in our life is menopause and perimenopause. And it's like the secret thing that like us women of a certain age, like whisper, like under our breath, like, is this happening to you? And like I say, we shout that shit from the rooftops today. So let's talk about it. The real deal. I didn't break the internet, right? I didn't do it.
Not this time.
It's still on. Yay.
I love that. What my visual, and I'm sure you've seen that, but it's like the Japanese art where they intentionally put pottery back together with gold. And there's a name for that practice.
It's called Konsugi. Yeah. That's actually the whole frame up of my coaching practice is Konsugi. Just learning to Konsugi our whole lives, like, and all it really takes is like looking at the things, right? Like connecting to ourselves, looking at the things that impact us, picking up one piece at a time. That's all we got to do. And then learn how to like fill things in with gold. And what is our typical like modus operandum? We're like, something impacted us. Okay, let me pick up my phone and get on my Facebook or drink a bottle of wine. Not that there's nothing bad about having a bottle of wine or picking up your phone, right? Like, but honestly, like what we typically do, we live in a society that says, don't look at the things that impact us. Just pretend it's not there. So we're denied like half of who we are, right? It's like, look pretty. God, and as women, like, look pretty, look perfect, be the perfect mom. Come home from the hospital, be nursing your babies and your vagina's torn apart, and be happy. You can be happy and like really bummed out that stuff's happening. You can be happy and be really scared that you're turning 50 and the choice to have a baby just got taken away from you by nature. Like, you know, it just got taken, and that's scary. That's scary and hard. Yeah.
And I love that, because we're supposed to fix it if there's a problem, skate through it, but never talk about it, but then somehow fix it, and all while never letting anyone know. It's like the duck across the water. We're supposed to just glide while there's like all this panic happening below the water, but like don't ever show anyone that that's happening, and especially don't talk about it, but like make sure I don't have to be inconvenienced or deal or know that it's happening.
Right. And
what? How do we do all of that at this? That is exhausting.
And that's exhausting. It's a huge mistake, because we don't learn then that these things that happen to us are periods, even that they can, like, your whole the period agenda and the app and like everything is all about like, how do I use this thing that is my life, right? Your period is part of your life. How do I use it as a way to like create something amazing? It doesn't have to be bad. And it's the same with menopause. It's the same with anything that happens in our lives. We can grab on to all the things that happen to us, the natural things that happen to us, and create something amazing if we stop and pick up one piece at a time and go, what is happening right now? How do I connect in this moment right now? And what cracks are happening because of this impact? And what do I need to do? Like when you're in whatever phase you're in your period, do I need more rest? Do I need different food? Do I need to connect with my husband or partner differently? Do I need more time alone? Do I need to journal? Do I need to have a meeting or not have a meeting? And if you can learn to do that more throughout your life, like, gosh, if you can use just the cycle of your period, can you imagine what you would do, what you could do if you do that everywhere, right? Like if it's everything in our life is a cycle. Everything is a cycle. You get an impact and there's a natural cycle. There's day, there's night, everything is a cycle. And if we can learn to do it with our periods, we can learn to do it everywhere. And menopause is just a little bit more chaotic of a cycle. It's like not predictable. You just have to. But if you learn to do it in a cycle that's more predictable, you can hone into what's happening in your body when it's a little bit less predictable.
I feel like that, yeah, because I've been doing like the cycle work, and we'll preface this by saying, even in the period space right now, loving your period is super radical, because even the best advocates that I know are still like, God, this is terrible. This is happening to you and this is terrible, but at least you should get a free tampon. So like we've got so much, like we've got a lot of room to come, and we've done a lot of work, right? That we can even talk about tampons out loud, and that ads are now using red liquid instead of blue liquid. Like we have come a long way in this space. Right. But that was something that another friend of mine who coaches on menopause said is like, if you can tune in now when things are more regular, then it's an easier transition. And I noticed that when I was pregnant, is like, it's not the same as having your period, but I could tell, I was like, oh, I feel really like I've got a lot of estrogen right now. I wonder what my body is growing and what the babies are doing. Or I'm like, oh, I'm really low energy. I think I have a little bit less estrogen right now. And I just started to understand how my body worked when those hormones were kind of in their flow. And so I felt like I understood myself a lot better than I think I might have if I had been pregnant before I had done a lot of tracking. So I'm curious, like how you have used this for a modality, or how you're finding this with the clients you're currently working with. Like, what are some things you're helping them kind of glom onto if they've never done the tracking before they've gotten to the perimenopause stage?
It's all about connection, because in coaching, that's really what it is. It's connecting to yourself. And that has, because I don't just coach women, I coach men too. And so what I try to do with people and with women in the menopause space, this is what I do. I say it's time to connect with yourself. And I ask people to do this. Understand the impact of menopause. And you can, everybody connects to themselves differently. So some people like to journal, some people like to meditate, some people like to walk, it depends. But ask yourself these questions to connect to yourself. How is perimenopause or menopause affecting me? The questions are, what have I lost? What have I gained? What am I learning about myself? And what would it look like if I use that learning moving forward? Mm. And if you just chew on those questions, you learn a lot about yourself. And it's different every day. But menopause, just like the way your hormones are shifting, if you just look at like, what am I losing? Because when you're perimenopausal, you are losing something, but you're also gaining something. And it's easy to glom onto the like, I'm just losing my sense of my body and I'm getting older. And so honor that. That is happening. It's truly happening. But there is also something to be gained. And so giving people the space to connect to the loss, the gain, and then the learning from that. Like, what are you learning about yourself based on those two things? I'm losing, I'm gaining. What are you learning about yourself? And then what would it look like if you use that learning moving forward? It's a powerful thing to do. Now, what's cool about that kind of teaching or connecting with yourself is you can replace the word perimenopause with anything. Divorce, having a baby, everything in life can be replaced with in that
framework.
That framework. And so it's really a powerful line of questioning. That's how I help people connect to the impacts of perimenopause. And then I use that same framework for like everything else that happens, because it's all about impacts. And it's easy for people to be like, well, this thing is happening to me. Perimenopause is creating such havoc in my life because of X, Y, and Z. But it's important to also look at the things that you gain from these transitions, and then what you're learning about ourselves.
I love that. So I want to back it up for just a second, because there's been sometimes I've typed in like perimenopause in different documents, and it like squiggly underlines in red for me, like pretending like it's not even like the dictionary doesn't like, what is this? Like, so for people who don't know, or maybe they haven't heard about it, we've heard a lot about periods now, we're hearing more about menopause, but kind of like talk us through what is perimenopause, and how might someone get clued into, oh, I think this is happening. This might be happening to me.
Okay, so here I'm gonna give a totally funny story for the first time I was like, I think some shit's happening to me. It was like, I was about 40. Okay, I'm 49, and I was about 44, and I started noticing that these, you can probably see it if you look real close here, like some hairs started growing out of my chin, and the hair on my head started getting like thinner, and I started noticing that when I was like just past ovulation and moving into my luteal phase, like my nipples would get super hard, and it was like, and I was like, I'm fucking pregnant. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. Like, it was like, everybody that's been pregnant, if you've had the pleasure of being pregnant, and you know, if you've tried to get pregnant and you haven't, I'm sorry if that triggers you at all. But like when you get pregnant and all of a sudden you're like, your boobs hurt, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm 43 years old and I'm pregnant. Oh, what am I going to do? And actually it was just my hormones changing. So perimenopause is this time where where the hormones in your body, where your estrogen starts shifting and changing, and you start producing less of it, and everything, all of those hormones just get chaotic, and it's not a normal stream of estrogen, progesterone releasing. It just gets chaotic, and then hairs start growing and things start where you don't want to have hair. You get it, and where you want it, you're losing it. It's so weird. And so I just started noticing that started happening, and then subsequent to that, and it can last, by the way, it can last to 10 years. So they say. So they say. And so I just started paying attention to it. And what one of the things, Alex, that I found really interesting to me is that it was not a conversation that any of my doctors ever had with me. Like, I go to the doctor every year for just an annual, like, I get my blood work done. I do all my, like, I'm a healthy person. So I tend to just do my regular, just exams. And I didn't bring it up because I'm like, I'm so young and healthy. I'm fine. I don't need to bring that up. And I didn't really even think too much about it until it started really becoming apparent with the changing in my cycle. But no doctor ever really brought it up to me. Like,
that's so weird.
Hey, you might want to start thinking about the hairs that are growing out of your chin. It could be that things are changing. So like at about age 46, I did bring it up. I started getting migraines. My periods started getting incredibly heavy. Really, really heavy, really clotty, like totally like just changed. I was pretty like right as rain. Everything was regular. Didn't have bad cramps. Didn't have terrible PMS. Just your normal like bitchiness. I started getting way, way bitchier. Like I started feeling like I was gonna shank my partner in the middle of the night just because I thought it would be fun. Not kidding. Like crying. My kid would walk she'd just walk into the kitchen and I would start crying because I thought she was so pretty. Or she'd come in and say, I don't want pasta for dinner. And I'd be like, I hate you. I hate you. I mean, like, it is like gnar. And so then I finally decided, like, maybe I should talk to my doctor about it, just my general. And I talked to her, and the first thing she said to me was, well, and she's younger. And she was like, well, let's just put you on some birth control pill and call it good. It's fine. It'll be fine. It's just normal. There wasn't any like deeper discussion, even about like, what's that like for you or anything. So at that point is when I started kind of going on a mission of like, I need to talk to people. I need to start opening up this conversation. This is a conversation that needs to be had between women about this phase of life. It's scary and it's hard because you're entering this latter phase of your life. It's not simply, my hormones are going crazy. It's like, holy shit, the decision to have a baby or not have a baby is all of a sudden, like, I don't want to have a baby. I'm 50 years old, for God's sake. But that decision, nature is now taking away from me. And even just that conversation feels important to have with other women. And so I decided to just start having that conversation with old ladies and my mother. Like, I even talked to my mother. I was like, you never even talked to me about this. She's like, oh, it was fine. I was like, you're not the person to talk about it. So I was like talking to everybody else that I could, my clients. And the minute you start to, just like anything, the minute we start to be vulnerable and open ourselves up and share our hearts and share our truth, somebody goes, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And that's when I was like, okay, this is where I need to start talking to people. We need to connect to ourselves. We need to create a community about our bodies, about the phases of our life. And we need to be revolutionists and say yes to real conversation and know we don't have to look like pretty little perfect gray bowls in a world that is not gentle with its pottery. We can be broken and fill the cracks with gold and be okay with that.
I am so excited that we started this, and I think this is going to be a reoccurring segment because this is just so good already. But like, what were you surprised about once you started asking the questions, when you started opening up those conversations? What were you expecting, not expecting? I would love to hear just how that went as you started asking people about their changes.
Well, I'm so lucky in my work that I'm a personal trainer too, but I personal train and coach because movement and the movement of the body and the movement of just the soul are so like, they're so juicy together. And so it's great when I'm working in person with clients to have those conversations. And it's crazy how, like I said, when you open up when I would come to work, you're like, clotting, you're exhausted. That's another thing perimenopause people don't talk about. You're exhausted. You're like, anyways, good night. You're like in a session with someone ready to like go night. So I'd be in a session with somebody, like have bled all morning. I've gone through 6 super tampons before 9 in the morning. And I'm like exhausted. And I just look at my client and I go, sorry if I'm a little bit out of it today. I'm totally bleeding all over the place. And it's a female client, by the way, who is older. and I said, and I just posed the question, did that happen to you? Did that happen to you? What was that like for you? And it's crazy. The minute you open that door, they go, yeah, that was so hard. I remember, or, oh, I'm so glad to be through that part. Nobody ever talked about it. Don't worry. You'll get through this phase. And there's this give and take that comes with that, like this connection of womanhood, this desire to be present for other women that just, when you open the door, we want to be there for each other. We really do.
That reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen the Vagina Monologues, but there's this line where kind of Eve Ensler's, it's like her character essentially is talking about going through this process and people thinking that it's like a weird thing to ask someone about their vaginas. And she's like, well, as soon as I asked them, they just started, the floodgates open because no one had ever asked them before. And like women were dying to tell me about their vaginas. They were dying for someone to ask them or to connect with them or to be like, what the fuck does this mean? And I think that's the real power of owning these stories. Like when they can no longer be used against us when we're talking about them loud and proud on the internet or in our lives. Like we can't get put back into that box of shame when we just own these parts of ourselves.
Totally. It's, you know, it used to be done. Like, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Red Tent. I mean, it used to be done like where we were together. We sat together and we held each other and we birthed each other's children, and we were there for when you got your first period and when you took your last breath. Like, that women were with each other, for each other. And it's so hard. We live in this world of disconnection. That's why I think the cornerstone of like my coaching and how I live my life as a woman is connect to yourself first and then with others. Like, it's so important that we do it authentically. And it's scary as hell. I do not want any person watching this to think that I am sitting here saying, it's so easy to talk about your vagina and blood clots and babies and boobs and all. It is not easy. I'm scared to death. I want you all to know, like, every time I speak, you know, every time I coach a client, every time I do a Facebook Live, every time I'm on a podcast, every time I do it, I feel afraid. I feel scared. But that's what it means to be a revolutionist. That's what it means. It's to be it's a little bit frightening to be that vulnerable. But that's also what it means to be really human. And I'd do it 100,000 times. I'd feel this feeling of fear 100,000 times over again to know that someone somewhere goes, fuck yeah.
It's like the exhale, right? It's like the
yeah.
Finally, yeah. I love that you bring up the Red Tent is a great piece of historical like fiction and literature, but it is so grounded in Native cultures and indigenous peoples who had these practices, and then colonizers completely stripped away their humanity and their medicine. And that's where I realized how political menstruating bodies are, right? Yeah. It is an act of political revolution and rebellion to be proud, because all the patriarchy does, all that we have to decolonize our own mindset in order to show up to this work, because it was made it hundreds of years ago. These traditions were trashed intentionally to make women small.
Yeah, totally. And that's hard to unravel, Alex. Like, that's so hard to unravel, because like I said, we live in a world that like says, stay small, stay quiet, stay perfect. And it is ingrained in who we are. Don't have needs. Oh, yeah. Don't have needs, be quiet. And so it like unraveling that, I have so much compassion for all of us, for any of us, even men that are on the forefront of it. Like, I have compassion for all of us that are saying, no, I will connect to who I am. I will connect to others, and I will do it lovingly and compassionately, and I will be a whole human being. Perimenopausal and all.
Hairs, blood, the whole thing. Yeah, there's this
and all, and falling asleep and hot flashes and all. I don't have a fan on me right now, but I did turn my AC. Right now my house is like that. I have an AC because it's like 111 here in Reno. I have my AC set at like 60, so I'm feeling
There's this phrase that's like, we're swimming in the water, so we're all wet. And so it's just hard like to separate all of these things. But I think that's what this work can also call us to pay attention to, as almost a healing modality. Is like every time it comes up again, every time you bleed in that part of your cycle, every time your period's irregular, it can become a modality to call our attention back home to ourselves, which I think is the really cool ability of this work. So on a practical level, because we could literally talk for hours, but
I want to talk forever.
What are some of the things that you have your clients do when they've like, okay, shit, I am going through perimenopause, which could be a 10-year journey, because when we say when someone's crossed into menopause, they haven't had a bleed for a whole 365. And so some people are like, I got up to like 350 days, and then I had my period, and like they're like, the clock starts again. So if someone's like, okay, I think this is happening, what do you recommend? What are maybe your top 2 or 3 tips of how you start to work with someone once they've recognized on a practical level, I am going through this? What would you recommend someone start with?
I think it depends on how it's impacting them, right? Like it's so personal, like, because having or not having your period, it's personal. It depends on how it's affecting the person. Yeah. Like if a perimenopausal woman is like, I'm so freaking tired, or a menopausal woman is like, I'm just so freaking tired, it's teaching her to hone into what is it that you need then. It's really taking kind of a life inventory, right? Like it's kind of like a wheel of life kind of thing, right? Like look at your life and go, how is perimenopause affecting love, relationships, creativity, my nutrition, family and friends, sex, finances? And having that person, I wish I could just be like, do these 5 things and it would be great. It's not like that. It's every person has to look at all of the areas of their life and go, what is being affected? How deep are the cracks, per se? And what do I, me, Karen, you, whoever, client, need to do to fill those cracks? If you're tired and you are saying yes to everybody 7 nights a week, what do you need to do? And it's empowering each woman to know that she is her own best expert. She has her own answers. We are all our own best expert. There is nothing, me, Coach Karen, you, Alex, nobody can tell you what it is that you need. It's teaching people to fish. It's not telling them how to. And it's like honing into what are the needs, Karen. Like I have to do it all the time. I constantly, especially in perimenopause and menopause, when things are shifting and changing all the time, sometimes I'm energetic. Other times I'm freaking exhausted. Sometimes I'm shanking my partner in the middle of the night and I'm like, why am I so ouchy? I hate you. And then I'm like, I need to spend some time with him because I'm feeling disconnected from him. And it's teaching clients to pay attention to what the needs that their needs are, right? Like it's looking at how perimenopause is affecting the things that are affecting them, because it's different for everyone. And so I'm not a big person that likes to say, these 5 things are the things you need to do and then you'll be better. I do subscribe to the notion of movement. I think motion is lotion. Motion is lotion. Like that's an important piece. What that motion is different for everyone. So it's like teaching a client to be like, all right, you're tired. You need to move your body. What feels authentic for you? What feels right for you? And it's, like I said, it's just teaching people to hone in on what they need. That's the biggest power. That's the trick. If you can teach people to go, I need this. And it's not like more candles and a massage, like self-care. That's not self-care. It's teaching people to come home and go, I need time with my partner. You're a new mama. I need 5 minutes by myself without somebody wanting me. I need 5 minutes in the bathroom. I need a hot cup of tea before everyone is awake so that I feel at home. Like, right? It's like, those are the things. That's the soul food. And that's what my suggestion is for anyone at any phase of their life, but in particular in that perimenopausal phase of life. And menopause.
I really love that. And where I really connect is we talk a lot in this group about being cycle scientists, which just means paying the fuck attention to
Yes.
your own body and what you need. And so I think if you, wherever you're at, if you start to get in that habit now of tracking for your own sake, collecting your own information, not to give yourself more gold stars or more like smacks across the face, but like for your own information, right?
Yeah.
Like tracking how much you move and then how that impacts your mood, tracking what you eat, and then not to shave 5 more pounds off of your body, not to do blah, 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 but like to understand yourself. And you can then say, when I'm doing these things, I feel really good. Because then you have a roadmap for when you're not feeling good. And I think that is super duper potent. And that's a recipe. I can show you how to get the eggs and the flour and the sugar. Karen can show you where to get the butter, but you have to put the recipe together for yourself. And so I think that practice of coming home that intentionally to yourself, starting it now or starting it today, whatever that day is for you, can really be, it sounds like a tool for getting through this journey with a bit more ease.
Yeah. And it's so transferable to every phase of life, to everything that impacts us. And that is what's important to me. It's like perimenopause is really a drop, and menopause is a drop in the bucket of my life. I mean, more things are going to impact me, more things are going to happen to me, and everything I do moving forward, I want to be able to use the tools that I want to break, and I want to mend, and I want to break, and I want to mend, and I want to fill the cracks with gold, and I want to be stronger and more resilient and more unique and more beautiful as I get older. Everything that happens to me should be a transformative experience, and using these tools, using this approach helps me and it helps my clients. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
I think where I want to land on today is like, what's the number one misconception you've heard from folks about this transitional phase of life?
Oh boy. Oh, I'm trying to think. That's a really good question. What have you heard about it or what is your biggest misconception while I think about mine? Because you're so young. You're just had babies. What is something in your head that you're like, perimenopause or menopause is?
I think what I used to hear and saw kind of backed up in the media is like that women aren't vivacious especially after menopause. Like that women aren't sexual or like juicy or full of life.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm going to tell everybody on here the secret of my life. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm super excited. The most sexual I ever felt in my entire life was right at the beginning of like my perimenopausal journey. I was like a vixen. It was awesome. So incredible, like super, super sexual. I was like, what just happened to me? It was amazing. And I feel like I'm more sexy and more beautiful and more connected to myself now than I ever have been in my whole life. It's so incredible. Yeah, but that's totally a misconception for sure.
Yeah, and that's what my friend Kate, she's done a chat with me on here, but she's like, and there are just like all these like 60-year-olds like having their best fucking life and like having great sex and like just like blowing the roof off of the whole program, and we just like we show everyone like post-menopause on TV as like this old gray-haired lady, like these 90-year-olds, and they're like, that's not what we jump to just as soon as we stop bleeding. Like what?
Right.
So,
and your vagina does not shrivel up and die. I can assure you. I mean, I'm still having my period. I'll check back with you all when it's like said and done. I think
let us know if it all turns to dust. The hit 360.
I mean, that's what lube is for God's sake. We've got all kinds of like real like. There's workarounds, everybody. I'm still, we're still all right. We are still the heartbeat of the world, ladies.
Hell yeah. So I think hearing that for me at my age is just like totally reframed. This has taken a lot of the fear because she's just like, yeah, it's just like you stop, what your creative energy flows into something else, and it becomes really like you have no more time for anyone else's bullshit in the world, and you just get to use your talents for yourself and for your own creation. And I was like, that sounds exciting. Like, I'm not trying to like jump ahead 30 years, but I am super excited, and it feels like it's going to be a softer place to land when I get there.
The connection that you have, if you let yourself, if you don't fight it, if you say yes to like, this is really happening, and you don't try to be that perfect gray tea bowl and not broken. If you let yourself say, I am whole and I am actually perimenopausal or menopausal, and not try to pretend that you aren't, it's really a remarkable place to be. And like I said, it sometimes sucks, you know, when you know, and it's all happening at the same time, like your kids are leaving for college and stuff. So it's hard and it's bumpy, and but man, if you dive into yourself, it can be really magical. And if you have a community of women that you can talk about the hard stuff and celebrate the moments that are like, I made it moments, and I'm all right moments, and I can't believe I can still have sex moments, and my vagina didn't turn to dust moments. It's been awesome. It's awesome.
Oh, such a good place to end it for today. So where can folks find you if they want to like check out your coaching or want to follow you online? Where can they find you at?
Totally. I'm on Facebook at KCB Coaching, and I also have kcbcoaching.com. So please find me there. And if you want to hit me up on Messenger, you can do the same. I'd love to hear from you. If anybody just wants to chat, let's chat menopause, perimenopause, vaginas, bleeding, babies. And I'm hoping that you and I can do this again. I'd love to it'd be cool to do just like even some kind of like big like forum where we can get women together, like a Facebook forum, and just a big like forum chat discussion, talk all things bodies, babes, and
yes, let's do it. So we will definitely post those links, and if you've got questions, Karen will come back and check the recording, and I will check the recording. We'll answer questions. If you want to go deeper, if you want to just like have a Facebook hangout or a Zoom hangout, since Facebook's not letting us do that, we're here for all of that. So this is not the last time. This has been awesome. So thank you so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.